employee payout, and like I said, that's something that I would urge that we not do without proper analysis and impact and a fuller understanding of what we can and cannot do. And I don't know if Commissioner Klicka is okay with that approach.
All right, moving to elections in.
There was the elections manager for 1.0 elections manager that was not funded at a cost of $64,716. I believe that they may have tried to address that internally.
Well, I had a memo. Mr. Newby is out of town today and tomorrow, I believe. I had a memo. We had talked about the other day that he has some vacant positions in his organization. Yes, can you speak to that? I'd received information from Mr. Newby that he thought there was somewhere in the neighborhood of $60,000 to $70,000 that of unexpended employee expense that could be carried over for 2015 for that one position. I'm telling you what the memo said. Yes.
Jessica White, Election Office. That is correct. We currently have 2 vacant positions, one that has been vacant for the duration of the year and is expected to remain unfulfilled until the end of August. And then we have another vacant position as well. And so the net remainder of those 2 vacant positions would be that $65,000.
Okay. So I guess the question is, if we carry that over into 2015,
you understand
it's unexpended dollars in his budget.
You understand that unexpended dollars in somebody's budget falls to reserves, and there's not an automatic reappropriation to their 15 budget.
Okay, but we can make that determination.
Right. I mean, I guess you could. I'm just saying that's not.
The other thing is it's one time, so
yeah.
It's a position.
Understand.
So. Okay.
Understand.
There is no.
But
way,
I know.
There is no way to carry over salary money. You can only carry over. You can only spend in a budget year what you're allocating and appropriating for that budget year, and the only thing you can carry over are capital project dollars. You can't carry over
so we
salary
could
dollars.
we could increase your appropriation for this position and basically fund this position, either one time with use of reserves or ongoing with tax dollars if that's what you want. But the fact that they have vacancies this year, at least if I'm understanding Don correctly, we can't use that next year.
Let's not make it that difficult.
I think the different way to look at it, Commissioner, if I may, is to say that if you want to have this position, you can certainly increase his budget by $64,000 and give him that position. Or you can say the 2 vacant positions he has goes away, and instead you have this new position occupy that slot.
Well, but I guess in my simple math, if I don't spend $65,000 or $70,000 for a position in my department this year, that money, as you say, falls to the bottom at the end of the year. But if I receive authorization for another position, then in essence, that's an equal pay. I've not, I've saved it in one year, but I'm expending in the next year. It turns out to be a wash.
For the 1 year, yes.
For the 1 year, exactly. Right. What you're doing, you're incurring, you're having an ongoing expense with the one-time money. So we would then plan to increase his budget by $64,000.
Understand. But again, I would, Mr. Newby has been requesting, as I understand it, one additional position for several years. And as we look out to 2015, we're probably going to have mail ballots for school districts. And that's going to increase the workload. I just think it's something that we need to address, especially with the uncarry over ability or whatever. Yeah.
Was Brian okay losing those 2 positions?
No, those 2 positions are the same grade and position as the requested position. Those are in process of being filled.
Okay.
I understand it's one-time money for 2015. And that we're encouraging or engaging in an obligation beyond that time, but it's one position, and I think as I look at the workload, it's probably justified. So, Mr. Peterson.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion here. I support the additional position, but I truly believe the best way for us to handle this is just to authorize the additional FTE and the increase to his budget by the $64,000. I mean, that's consistent with our general practice,
That's fine.
and so that'd be my motion.
Well, I'll second that.
Motion has been made and seconded to fund the one FTE election manager's position as requested by the election office. Further discussion?
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Ashcraft?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I appreciated Mr. Newby's plea last week and agree he's under a lot of pressure, but what I still struggle with is the more we add to the bottom line, the more pressure it is on the organization as a whole when it comes to a tax increase. And for that reason, while I want to be supportive and think some kind of relief is appropriate, I would suggest that we should defer this position increase for at least a year.
Okay. Any other discussion? Mr. Klicka?
If I can ask this question, I've been in conversations with the school district relative to the mail-in ballots. Will this get them their ballot or their elections in January, all districts?
They requested 3 large districts if we're able to backfill this position, or able to grant.
Say that again, I'm sorry?
Yes, all 3 of the large districts would be able to go in January, but without this position, we would have to separate them.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other discussion? The motion is before us. Any question on the motion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Peterson.
Aye.
Commissioner Allen.
Aye.
Commissioner Klicka.
Aye.
Commissioner Osterhaus.
Aye.
Commissioner Ashcraft.
No.
Commissioner Topliker.
Aye.
And Chairman Eilert.
Aye. Motion carried. Next item in regards to elections is the voting machines.
Yeah, and before we discuss this further, let me frame it a little bit. The request is for approximately $20 million. It was requested in 2017,
I thought it was 12.
12 and a half, and it was requested in 2017.
The request is for $12 million.
And it was not requested for 2015. The concern, I believe, that the election commissioner has is that it's not showing up in the 5-year forecast. And so in order to do that, that would be, my understanding is unless, that would typically be what we would be talking about. This is not in the 2015 budget. So
Right.
What we would do is if that was put in, we would put that impact into the out years. This is technology. We obviously don't have an extra $12 million sitting around at this point in time. So if this goes in to 2017, we would put short-term debt probably in the neighborhood of 5 to 8 years and run that calculation and put that into the forecast with a commensurate mill levy impact in the out years.
Mr. Chairman?
Well, the conversation, Mr. Newby does not have a specific proposal at this point in time on what type of equipment needs to be used or should be used. And I think our conversation the other day was that he was going to use some of his capital reserve fund to fund an RFP, or that may not be the right word, but to explore what exactly he needs as far as new election equipment. Following that, then he would come back and ask for specific funding in a specific time period. Mr. Klicka?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we do not fund the voting machines at this time.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to confirm the recommendation and not to fund the voting machines in 2015. Mr. Peterson?
Well, I'll speak against the motion as it's currently crafted. I think we need to begin to plan for this, and a blanket rejection, I think, precludes the opportunity to add this to an out year on the CIP.
Well, it does and it doesn't. I mean, we look, we redo the forecast every year after the CIP committee meets, and then we look at the funding available. And there is a history of projects coming on in nearer than not in the 5th year and getting funded. When Arc Flash, which is not one I should probably bring up in front of this board, was not something that we had a 5-year window on. The other thing, and I think this gets to the chairman's point, is that this current request runs out to almost is over $4,000 a machine. And so one of the difficulties that Brian's faced with is that the type of technology he would prefer to use is not in existence with regard to being approved by the feds and all that. So he's really sort of in a hoping things fall into place. And so that gets to the chair's point that it's not necessarily, or maybe it was Commissioner Peterson's point, that it's not necessarily, but it's very difficult to know what an appropriate dollar amount is to set aside.
I don't agree with Brian's request that we ought to be putting $12.5 million in a hole out there some point in the future. But also, I think we're ignoring reality if we're not building up to that day. And so, I mean, I believe we ought to go back to our plan that we were pursuing a few years ago of setting aside funds so that they'd be available when the day came and we'd identified the appropriate technology. As I understand your motion, you're just saying no, period. And I guess that's why
think there's a lot of questions to be answered, and I'm, for the sake of the budget right now, I'm just not ready to throw it into to the CIP right now. I realize we'll have that discussion down the line, but there's too many things up in the air, and I probably concur at this point in order to move things forward. So that's just kind of the way I look at it.
And I admit, I don't know where the money's going to come from, but I think this is just like roads. We have roads budgeted for future years, and we don't know which roads we're going to build in which year. But we recognize there's going to be that need. And I think we've ignored this for now 4 or 5 years, and it's time we get back on track with it.
Hey, Mr. Topliker.
Well, I agree with Commissioner Peterson's comment. We do have certain funds that, we set aside money for future needs, and I was thinking of the Register of Deeds Technology Fund and how that took special legislation to get that fund in place. And I don't know if there's any ideas on a similar fund for updating election machines, but counties all over the country are having this problem, so there ought to be some ideas out there somewhere to do something similar as the technology fund.
Okay.
It could just specifically be used for election machines.
Well, that's a possibility. I don't know where it would come from, but that may be something we need to consider in our state legislative platform.
But as for right now, on this motion, we still have a motion, right?
Right.
Could we set just to get it in the 5-year plan? Could we set up a fund and like we've done in the past, and maybe not put much in it now, but at least to get it on there?
Well, I think the question is, can you do something meaningful? For instance, in the past years, there's been about $400,000 a year, which has gone into a capital fund. So over 5 years, you're talking about $2 million on a $12 to $14 million project. So you're going to have to do something much greater than that when that information comes back to us. And I think Mr. Newby is prepared to move forward with finding out what kind of system he really needs, identifying those costs. And I would encourage him to do so and bring that specific information back to us.
And I always clarify two things. Number one, that what Commissioner Topliker is talking about would be a capital project account. Okay, so it's not a fund, and I just want to keep that language clear since Don's probably still in the room. Okay. And the other thing is that he currently has some money in a capital project account, and on any Thursday, he could come with a request to use a portion of that for other purposes than the account was set up for. That would just need to be a board decision to amend the use of a portion of that account, so we could handle that.
All right, the motion before us is to confirm the recommendation that not be funded at this time. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Peterson?
No.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Clickham?
Aye.
Commissioner Osterhaus?
Aye.
Commissioner Ashcraft?
Yes.
Commissioner Topliker?
Aye.
Chairman Ivick?
Aye. Motion carried. Okay, that brings us to our 4:30 conclusion. We will reconvene. We are adjourned for the day. We will reconvene at 9:30 a.m. tomorrow morning to continue the revisit list, and hopefully by the afternoon we'll be able to conclude with a budget to be recommended for public hearing. Mr.